Hi, everyone. This is Bailey Liu with the Washington State Charter School Association, your host for the Fundraising Learning Series, where I bring in experts to talk about equity-driven fundraising practices. Today, I'm speaking with Gillia Bakie, the principal for Flaker Consulting and the former development director of WA Charters. She's a seasoned grant writer specializing in corporate and institutional giving strategy and served as a board member of the Puget Sound Grant Writing Association. Welcome, Gillia. I'm so excited you're here. As you know, as grant writers and fundraiser, we tend to use a lot of labeling like at risk and underserved when we're building a case for support and writing that need statement. And this kind of language reinforces harmful stereotypes and takes away power from the community the organization supports. So what are some ways you embrace and practice more equitable and empowering language in your grant writing?
I love this question, and it's something that, I am on a journey on personally. And so I do want to just really acknowledge I'm in no way an expert here. And I think there are really amazing experts out there to review information from. Like the community centric fundraising group is awesome here. And there are many other asset-based and empowering language leaders, equity focused grant writing leaders that I follow out in the community. So I just want to give a shout out to them because these are really tips and ideas that come from a much larger group of experts. But the number one I would say is to focus on what the real issue is. And the real issue that we know is the system. It's individuals are not at fault for the challenges that they're experiencing. And so we need to focus on systems as problems, not people. And that's kind of at the heart of asset-based language. That's the term that you will see in most equity-focused grant writing materials, is using asset-based language. But for me, it's really about being authentic to what's actually going on. One example of this is thinking about, as you talk about the challenges that you may be trying to overcome as a school, focus on barriers to opportunities, not student needs. Something like X school is working to support students by breaking down barriers to success that look like X, Y, or Z, whatever your main community challenges are that you are trying to bridge. That's number one, asset-based language, focusing on systems. Number two is avoiding saviorism. So something that is really easy to fall into when you're trying to talk about how much of an impact a gift is going to make is really thinking about putting the funder or even your organization in the position of hero in your work. But the fact of the matter is that we are all working to support people and clients who are actually the heroes and the protagonists of their own stories. And our work is to help them overcome and support them in breaking down barriers to the opportunities that they deserve. So in this case, always talk about client strengths and how you support them. For example, my school is supporting students' brilliance and perseverance in the face of lack of access to food, potentially, or lack of access to stable housing. And those are things that you're doing to support the hero, which is your student. So avoiding saviorism. And the third is always write like your clients will read the application. So if you wouldn't say it to the person that you're working with, that you're trying to serve, don't say it to a funder. Like, make sure that these things are aligned. You need to be authentic in everything that you're doing and in your communications. Thinking about it through that lens helps me stay on track around the values that I want to have when I'm writing grants.
Thank you so much for these tips and for naming these dynamics. Yes, we are all on a journey to do better for and with our community. I love community-centered fundraising, and I've always learned so much from the thought leaders there. What are some of your other go-to resources?
So in addition to CCF, I really like reading Vule's blog, Nonprofit AF, which has information across the gamut for nonprofits and philanthropists from an equity lens. But it's super helpful and informing in the grant writing space, just because it talks about bigger issues, including ethical storytelling, equity focused language, asset-based language, and community-centric fundraising. Another great resource is the Women of Color in Fundraising and Philanthropy. And for me, the Allies track of their Symposium for White Folks has been particularly helpful because it really is educational around how white fundraisers can support and ally communities of color. Another is the Fakequity blog. So it talks about how to have authentic equity, especially in the nonprofit space, kind of across the board. Again, not grant writing specific, but still super helpful. And then really, I just look for these themes: ethical storytelling, equity language for grant writers, community-centric language, community-centric fundraising in the major fundraising professional development outlets and news sources. So things like the Chronicle of Philanthropy, Inside Philanthropy, and others.
Thank you so much for your time, Gillia, and for sharing your wealth of expertise with us. I appreciate you.
It's so lovely to be a part of this and to see all the great resources that are out there. I'm an avid reader and watcher of the Fundraising Learning Series.